It's been almost 50 years since the band Aswad released their debut album, and they're still one of the most influential acts on the British reggae scene.
And today their new live album is coming out, capturing an emotional homecoming in London and their preparation for a series of gigs.
Well, the band's bass player, Tony Gad Robinson, joins us now. Morning to you, Tony.
Good morning, good morning.
Can you just do the maths for us? Is it really 50 years?
It's not quite 50, Charlie, not yet, but
OK,
it's getting close.
Getting close. And it's been a very long time since you brought out new music.
It's been a while since we put out new music. You know, the ways of recording right now have changed from the days we used to. We used to have big studios. Now people are using laptops and those kind of things. So we're putting out a live LP. So funny enough, the way we recorded this live LP, it was almost an accident. We had our engineer, we went to a gig, and gigs like we normally do. And engineer, 2 days later after we did the gig, he came up to us and said, "You know what, I recorded the gig." And we went, "What do you mean you recorded the gig?" He said, "Well, there was a plug that you could plug your laptop in, and I plugged it in and I recorded the gig."
The thing with these engineers is they make out they've done it in the same way we'd recorded. Maybe not you, but, you know, I'd record a gig, like, it would sound awful, but I bet he, she, I don't know, they did a brilliant job.
Yeah, when we listened back to it, because, you know, sometimes you do gigs and you kind of think, yeah, I don't want to listen to that was out on that night, and that's that. But, yeah, when we listened to it a couple of days later, I said, no, but that's not bad, actually. So I went in the studio, mixed it off right away, and that's become this live LP that we're going to put out now.
Right. And over the course of your career, you've seen quite a lot of changes. I mean, and kind of do a compare and contrast about where reggae was when Aswad first started as to where it sits now. What do you think?
Well, when we started out, 1970...
I like that year. It was a good year. A vintage year.
Yeah, it was a vintage year, because that was a hot summer. Yeah. It was, you know... when we went to studios, a studio had to be a big room, and you had, like, big tape machines, a big bank of effects machines and everything. And if I look at it from then, I mean, social media wasn't around at the time. So when we talk about what's changed in those times, you know, everything's come down to this, well, the whole music business is on this little screen that you have on your phone.
Well,
so that's kind of,
I was going to say, you know, often we have stars who come in and we look back, right?
Yeah.
When you look back, I don't know if you remember doing that.
Yeah, I do.
How do you feel about looking back?
Sometimes I don't like looking back, because you just, you know, over the years things change. You know, people say you look the same. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, we were babies then.
Do you think there's more respect for reggae music now?
Yeah, I think there is, because especially when we started...
It was given a trope, wasn't it? It was kind of given this is for certain kind of people, this is, like, representing...
Well, in our day, it was like the sun's out now, so that people thought, well, that's the only time you play reggae music. We're a reggae band, and we've got to play music every month of the year. So we want to play it all the time, not just when the sun comes out, right? You understand? So for us, it's something we do all the time. And we say reggae music, in our early days, one thing that us as a band did, reggae music wasn't made outside of Jamaica. So when we came out, it was like we had to prove to our people that, you know, we could do what our parents had done and all the rest of the bands we've seen from the West Indies.
And was the tipping point moment when you had... because you had some very big hits quite early on, didn't you? Was there a kind of tipping point when you realised... it was kind of... I don't like the word mainstream, but you probably heard... I don't know, you probably had the car radio and it's like, they're playing our song. Did you have those moments?
Well, I remember the day we went to #1 with Don't Turn Around, and, you know, when you start out, that's your aim, but is it really going to happen? And I remember on the day we had our manager, which was Mr. Les Spain, and he said to us, he told me to go out in the shop and buy, I think, the Sun newspaper. So I went into the shop, bought the Sun newspaper, and he said, open it up near the middle page where they have the charts. And I opened it up, and there was Aswad sitting right at the top. And I looked at it and I thought, that's us. And it's like you've got to sit down to yourself and prove to yourself that really is us. Because before that, we've been playing for years as a live band. You know, you're trying to get into the charts, but it doesn't always happen. You put out songs and they might get to 65, they might get to 40. But in our days, it was that thing. You had to cross that border of the 40. Once you got into the 40s, then your song could climb.
You know, with the new album as well, it was mixed. Christian Cowlin.
Christian Cowlin, yeah.
The Wailers.
Well, basically, he was an engineer that we met in, not too early a lot, but a good while ago. And
I'm just trying to get people to understand kind of the relationships, you know, that go through the history of reggae and what people recognise.
Well,
and
Bob Marley and the Wailers was one of the first things that made me decide that I wanted to become a musician, because I'd seen this picture of this album of this man on it. I didn't really know who he was, and it was my friend. He had a sister, Irene, and I saw this album in his collection, and I looked at her. They were Greek, and I looked at them and I thought, where did you get that from? Who is that? And she said, it's Bob Marley. And I said, she goes, don't you know Bob Marley? I said, no. And this was really early on. So when I heard the music...
How old were you at this
I must have been 15, 16. Yeah, some of my friends might have known, but at the time, I mean, I came out of... My parents went to church, so I was a church boy in church first.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so you come out of that and then you start looking around to see what's going on. So, yeah, Bob Marley and the Wailers was one of the things. We saw how big Bob Marley got, and it gave us inspiration to say, right, then that's something that we want to do. Yeah.
A lot of people would be very pleased to see you got new material back in. Lovely to see you here this morning. Thank you so much.
Charlie, nice to meet you.
Real pleasure. And the album is called Live in London.
Live in London. It's out today, I think.
Self-explanatory, because it's live.
Yeah, out on the Spain music label.
Thank you for wearing a hat that matched our set.
Well,
because I think you're the smartest person on the set today. Thank you so much, Tony Gad Robinson. Stay there.
Don't move.
We've got to go to the news, and then
problem.
we'll let you go. Time to find out what's happening. We'll see you shortly.